So I'm really excited today to be speaking with Anjali Leon, who I've known for about 4 or 5 years through our blogging, but we've really had the opportunity in the last year or so to work together on a couple of different panel discussions, and that has been really fun and exciting. I love the viewpoint that Anjali brings to the work, and I thought it'd be great to feature her in this little interview and give us a chance to learn more about her. So welcome, Anjali. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Right. So I'm Anjali. I'm an agility and resilience coach. I'm based in Boca Raton, Florida, and I run a small boutique coaching and consulting practice called PPL Coach, where we bring value-driven and values-based people, product, and personal leadership. And I specialize in design thinking and lean and agile ways of working. And that's what I bring into all of my training and coaching solutions.
When did you first realize you were into the Agile space?
Actually, I think it was back in 2010. I was a software engineer back then, working for a small company and very much kind of working in the Agile mindset, very, very collaborative, very customer focused, but we couldn't scale. You know, we were so dynamic. Right now, I think we would probably refer to it as a little bit chaotic. So we couldn't bring in new people. Our quality was a little, lackluster. So we needed some kind of process in order to be able to grow and scale. And I kind of took on the mantle of project management. And just working out of instinct. One day, my boss dropped a book on my desk. Agile, the Agile book from Ken Schwaber and Mike Beadle, the little black book. And that was my first introduction to Scrum. So we just bought a tool and, visualized our work and visualized our time boxes and started. I was Scrum Master, or at least I took on the role of Scrum Master amongst all of my other hats.
With no training?
We had a little bit of training from somebody in a sister company who had experience with Agile and Scrum. So we had a little introduction to it. But it felt so straightforward and simple. And 6 years, or whatever, now it's 10 years later, it has become a whole profession for me. So it wasn't that simple after all.
So certainly you've grown over the last 10 years. At some point, you must have said to yourself, I'm an Agile coach now. When was that point when you realized you were an Agile coach?
So I actually had not heard the term Agile coach until 2013. And it was picking up Lisa Atkins' book. Coming out of those pages, I saw possibilities that I had never seen before. I saw myself in that book.
Wow.
I saw how I showed up, how I wanted to show up, and to think that there was a role out there where I could do that all the time was just amazing. So I kind of started my journey in kind of claiming that role for myself. I didn't actually call myself a coach until I think it was maybe sometime in 2014 after I attended the Agile Boot Camp with Lisa Atkins and Michael Spade. I tried it on and I said, how does this feel like to call myself an Agile coach? And, that's where kind of this deeper journey started for me. Lisa Atkins' Agile Coach framework really helped me understand the various roles I might play as a coach. Mm-hmm. So some situations require me to just teach some new concept if it's something that's completely new to somebody. Sometimes I might need to mentor the person. So sometimes the person is learning something new and just needs somebody to give them feedback and kind of move them forward. Sometimes I'm in a facilitative role and sometimes I am in a professional coaching role. And when I first started, I was much more comfortable in the teacher and mentor role. That came very natural to me. I didn't really know a lot about professional coaching. Again, that boot camp opened my eyes to the space of professional coaching. And so over the last couple of years, that's been where I have intentionally sought training and practicing and coaching. So I've become much more comfortable in that space. And, knowing all those things and continuing to grow in each of those 4 areas allows me to adapt. So I think early on, the difficulty was the not doing. As a software engineer, I was so used to having something, some output, right? Some tangible deliverable. And sometimes as a coach, you're there holding space for somebody else's growth. And taking that little bit of a step back and allowing the reward to be the other person's growth, the light in their eyes, the shift that's happening for them, that took me a little time to be okay with that, to see my value, of the value that I brought to the table. I still struggle with it a little bit, but it's much better. Now I sometimes struggle with patience because I think I want for my clients more than they actually want for themselves yet.
Yeah.
And, just knowing that they have their own pace for their journey, and I have to be patient with.
Let's talk a little bit about you have a company you started. Why did you start your company? And, what are the clients that you're trying to serve and who do you hope to help?
So I never saw myself starting a company or being an entrepreneur. And so initially it was when I decided to focus completely on coaching and kind of moving into the Agile world wholeheartedly, I didn't know where I would land. The company that I worked at the time, I had been there for such a long time. I loved the people I worked with. Relationships are super, super important to me. Connections are super important to me. As I left that world, I wanted to land in a place where I could have similar relationships and have a similar impact, but now doing a different thing. So I didn't know where I would land. So I thought I would do some consulting work, actually in search of the place that I would land and settle.
Oh, I see.
And little did I know that as I started coaching and consulting, and my work in that mode was really resonating with the clients, and the freedom that it allowed other things to emerge in me that I hadn't seen in myself before. I started becoming, the creativity, because I didn't feel any constraint of working in somebody else's box. Sure. Allowed me to try things and take risks. And the more risks I took, the more I was able to feel like myself. And the more it resonated with the people that I worked with. So it was kind of a self-reinforcing thing. And I figured I learned how to run a business. So there's aspects of being in the business and then working on the business. Mm-hmm. And I learned the working on the business part, the accounting and the invoicing and all of proposals and all of that aspect. I figured I could do this. Mm-hmm. And so now here I am 6 years later, and I have my own coaching and consulting practice where I get to do the best of both worlds, work in it and work on it.
And maybe it's just me, but I've noticed that your material tends to trend more toward the product ownership role and the value, yes, but also the soft skills, the emotional intelligence and stuff that's very near and dear to my heart.
For me, I believe that in order to be able to get the outcomes that we're looking for in terms of agility, and now I think even more so, very clearly, resilience, our ability to bounce, from any kind of challenges that we're experiencing, and we have enough of them right now, that we need both. We need the being and the doing. We need the abilities that we possess inside of us to influence the actions that we take. That has always been my stance. I just have not felt like I was in a place to be able to articulate it like I'm able to articulate it now. I feel much, much more confident about the fact that we need both in order to be able to succeed. And it's the two, it's both. That's why I say the value driven. So we're kind of focused on what is the most important thing that we want to bring forth in the world or bring forth in our work. And values based. So what's the foundation on which all of that emerges? And I think that those two pieces are more and more important. So it's a blend of the two. So even when I teach product management, I teach product leaders to show up in a certain way to get the outcomes that they want. When I work with people leaders, it is, how do you show up? And what are the things that you're asking your team to be able to deliver? So it's being able to bring both to the table.
What advice would you have for other women who are interested in coaching or interested in technology? Do you have any tips or advice for them?
So if it's something that makes you come alive, go do it. If it's technology that makes you energized and feel alive, then go do it. And then you'll find a way to learn, to practice it. So that's the first thing. Know yourself, know what motivates you and what energizes you. And if it comes to technology, I had a ball being a woman in technology. And as far as coaching, again, I think that we bring a lot of our natural feminine instincts that can help in the coaching world, in the coaching space. So feel confident to come into that space if that's what speaks to you.
Yeah, some of my favorite pair coaching has been with women. I think the styles are very complementary, and it's been a lot of fun. And the panel discussions we've had together with different clients have been fun.
Absolutely. I just finished a class with Bob Galen. I co-taught with him, and it was again that kind of an experience where you really you not only just add to each other's style, you're creating something new that could not have existed with each of you individually. Magic can happen when you bring different perspectives to the table.
Is there any other opportunities that people could have to see your work or connect with you, either through the CAL or some other opportunity?
Absolutely. And by the way, the CAL class, I hope to be able to teach with Bob again in the future, but he leads the class with different people, which is he brings different voices to the table, which is a wonderful way to work through that. So I have the value-driven product owner class that's targeted to product owners, a more tactical class on how they can actually champion and manage the product backlog, and a more strategic class of product management called Vision to Value. And that's great for product managers, directors of product to really define what value is and create that aligned autonomy for people to be able to execute on the vision and outcomes of the organization. And I have an emotional intelligence workshop also coming up on October 8th. I offer these set of workshops on a quarterly basis. So if you can't catch it this quarter, there'll be a new lineup coming up the first quarter next year and so on. And you can always go to my website, www.ppl-coach.com, and see what's the latest that's happening and join me for one of my classes.
Awesome. Well, I'll add the links on here so people have those. Is there anything else that you'd like to say, anything that we haven't covered?
Not really at this time. There's a lot of things that I philosophically believe in that I hope that over time there'll be more and more of that conversation happening. But I think that there's an opportunity. There's a real, not just an opportunity. I think the new value proposition for organizations is doing well and doing good. And I think that's going to become more and more a part of my work and what I talk about going forward. So stay tuned for more of that.
Well, we will definitely stay tuned to your work, Anjali. I'm really appreciative of the time this morning, and thank you for sharing your insights and the opportunity to learn a little bit more about you.
Thank you, Anthony. Thank you for this opportunity. I appreciate it.